and many more. Some big film projects that I've been privileged to be a part of. Most recently, Superman, Batman, which will be coming out in 2015. Got a chance to do a lot of ZBrushing on that. Today I'm going to give you a perspective as far as an illustrator using ZBrush. If it's one thing I've seen about ZBrush, it's probably the most versatile program I've come in contact with as far as its real-world applications and what you could really do with it. The fact that you can use it as a conceptual tool, you can use it as a fun tool, you can use it for manufacturing. When I was on Men in Black 3, we had done some tests where Tully had sculpted a concept I did. This was before I was fully using ZBrush. He had sculpted it. They had sent the 3D file to a CNC router machine, and they cut out a big, big piece of foam of his ZBrush model. And the plan was that, oh, we'd just print this stuff out, and then they'd install it on the set, paint it up, and shoot it for the film. So the fact that you can now do that, from your desktop, that's incredible to me. You could build stuff for your house. You could do all kinds of things with it. This stage, I'm just going to mass out the big parts of this character's head, where his eyes will go. Whether I choose to do eyes or not just depends on the shot that I'm doing. Plot out where my ear will go. And I'll just scribble this stuff in. Anyway, this is one way to go. Another way to go, I'll just use ZBrush to pose. So this is a male model I sculpted. It's got a decent amount of resolution so that when I light him, I can get where those cast shadows would happen off his anatomy. So I'll usually take that mask, I'll copy it into a channel, which is not open. I'm going to do this in 1 minute. And then that becomes a selection mask for me. And now if I want to paint on this guy, or I want to modify the lighting, maybe I didn't get exactly what I wanted, and I didn't want to spend the time. Maybe I wanted a little more blown out. If I wanted to paste in textures or whatever, or accentuate some of these cast shadows. So I think ZBrush will get me to a certain point, and then I can jump out of there and get back into a 2D program or something of that sort.
To create something that visibly shakes somebody up a little bit. Like, what is that?
Working with the character to make it really real and believable.
That it's got life and performance and can express and emote.
Creating a character that starts to live and breathe on screen.
When we get a script and it contains a great story, we get passionate about bringing those images to screen. At Legacy Effects, we bring ideas into the real world.
Everyone here shares a passion for creatures and monsters, robots, characters. We like making the impossible possible. Summer blockbusters to small independent films to a variety of commercials. We kind of do a little bit of everything.
Design is the backbone of what we do. For a character that's going to be all digital in the movie, we spend as much time putting in all the detail and bringing that character to life as we would something that we would build.
We do a lot of animal reproductions. What we really strive to do is reproduce an animal exactly. And a lot of times they're coming to us because they can't get a real animal to do what the script is calling for. Whether it's hanging upside down, whether it's talking.
I like a nice ham.
You know, walking down the street. We're often called upon to do the classic monsters, the Frankenstein and the zombie and vampires and werewolves, and those are great fun for us. But when we get to explore a new character, whether it's an alien or a creature or a monster, that really lets the imagination go wild. For us, it's really fun.
Something that Legacy Effects is becoming known for is our specialty suits. Starting with the Iron Man films, with Pacific Rim, up now through RoboCop, we really have developed a strong niche.
We also do a lot of robots. That just seems to be a very popular theme. The character comes from performance, so if we push the details, then it becomes a more believable character. We have a lot of hard surface modeling, and whenever we do robots, you know, we just embrace the technology of direct manufacturing and rapid prototyping. Our particular workflow, I think, is unique in the industry. We really embrace new technology.
It's fantastic, I think. It's just like, what could the ceiling be on this? We haven't seen it yet.
We've been rapid prototyping for years, and we keep looking for new and innovative ways to use that technology. It's about finding a balance of finance and creativity.
It's about paying attention to detail.
It's the entertainment of what good makeup or good effects are.
It's recognizing the changing landscape and reacting to it.
It's about working hand in hand with digital companies to make the most seamless effect possible.
It's the joy of watching your stuff affect people in a certain way.
You know, fast forward 8 years, we have six 3D printers now?
Yeah, we got
Huge.
six 3D printers.
Yeah, high end. There's not a day goes by that those things aren't churning out parts. Every one of those parts that is on those printers came.
Design maquette pieces to actual pieces that'll be used on screen.
We actually printed the first makeup, an actual makeup that was printed on our printers a few years ago. We never got to do it because they took that out of the film. But you know, we went from a tool that you had to understand where it was going in your own mind, and you had to believe it was going to go there, to be able to look ahead and go, okay, we're going to be able to do this. And ZBrush has always been that tool.
Well, and you know, to use that example, what you're talking about with the makeup, you know, Scott just sculpted those makeups on the latest version of Mystique.
As far as hard things to design, hard things to kind of do, it's not when you're not getting a design, that's a miscommunication. When you're not getting what somebody wants, you got to understand that's not doing bad work, that's not communicating. When you're communicating with somebody and you're not reaching the level that they want, that's when it becomes the hardest, because you go, I gotta make this happen. I gotta pull myself up, I gotta pull my abilities up, I gotta put it all into this thing, and then you become emotionally invested in it, and when they don't like it, you know, what are you gonna do?
As artists are very emotionally invested in what we do. It's an extension of ourselves. So you always want to please, and you want your design to be selected. But that's part of the business. You also have to learn to put that other hat on, that you understand that you are bringing someone else's vision to screen. It becomes fun. There's those golden opportunities that take you back to why you got into it.
That's what we were talking about this morning. You come away from this industry after a long time, not with movie posters and maquettes and things, and those are all great. It's the stories. It's the interactions, and it's like, you know, who was standing in the shop making jokes yesterday?
I don't know. Who was in the shop?
Who was in the shop yesterday?
Oh, who was in the shop?
Can you say?
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the
He's standing
shot.
there harassing me over my shoulder to show somebody something in ZBrush. Arnold Schwarzenegger's aware of ZBrush.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about how far digital has come. Arnold Schwarzenegger's just like, you do the thing, you remember in the mouth with the side was showing, so you can see the stuff. Look, they can move it and it'll be, and I'm like, I can't move it.
He's like, Scott, move it.
Scott,
now
move
kill
it.
you.
Move it. Why are you being stupid? Move it. And you're like,
I think there's a maybe
Run,
a
Paul.
final question in the back.
One final question.
all right. What the hell?
It's really not a question. I just wanted to say thank you for reminding me, if not anyone else, why I fell in love with this art in the first place. It's been awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All in or nothing. It's a battle cry. A call to arms. The only way to live. The only way to play. It fuels them into battle. They step onto the field wearing war paint. Unleashing speed, energy and control. Bearing the marks of those that know there is only one way. Hunt or be hunted. Fear or be feared. Evolve or die. Black or white.
So we'll go one at a time. These were done by, the scans were done at Scannable with Travis Renke. He's a Texas-based artist that we love to work with. He's a really, really talented guy, like just really cool, super collaborative, and he came up to meet us in Santa Monica, where we're located. And we used two different scanners, an Artec Eva and an Artec Spider. The Eva is great for like broad capture, like full bodies and things, but it doesn't do great for like high detail faces. As you can see here, it really nailed the body at the perfect resolution for us, but you start to lose a little detail in the face. And frankly, this is a pretty extreme pose. This is our Native American, and he's leaning back on the horse at this moment. So we knew we weren't going to capture his legs, so we just got him from the waist up. And tried to get just the gesture, like get as much as we could, knowing that he was going to drift and we were going to lose the scan. So we got as much as we could, and it really paid off, because like just the way his body's twisting is something that's really hard to replicate. And knowing, obviously, you've seen how many assets we had to create, having a solid place to start was just invaluable, and it gave us a serious leg up. So we have a few of these other ones. Apologies for the tighty-whities. So you can see there's some little things that we had to clean up, but otherwise, really clean. The heads are obviously not so much there. We didn't bother capturing the backs because we knew we weren't going to use the backs. We ended up, apologies, we used the technique, we called our technique decimation, not to be confused with decimation master. So if you hear me say it, that's what I mean. When we put all the strips on them, we left off their backs in order to not have so much back geometry. Players' bodies as well, because like I said, we didn't have access to them, and really you can't scan them in those poses anyway. So we ended up sculpting those bodies from, with this element and modifying them, because while Paul is a handsome man, he's not a World Cup champion. So we had to, bring him up to the level of a world-class athlete. And he became our defenders as well. So you can see he brought in his kit. But that's the kind of level of detail you get. That was, I believe, the Eva. No, excuse me, that was the Spider that we got, I think. I think that was the Eva. So this is Andy Hall. This is our high detail scan. Like I said, the high detail scanner is really better for like small details like faces and hands and things like that. Not really good for overall coverage or things where someone's not going to be able to hold a pose for very long. So you can see we got a great expression, but we didn't get the rest of the body because he wouldn't be able to hold it, and it was going to take a long time. So we did this. So where he's more relaxed and he's got his hands up. He's actually holding onto C-stands as well, so just to prop him up so he doesn't drift. And that was with the lower res scanner, but it turned out really nicely. Is this lower res? I can't even tell anymore. But either way, perfect amount of detail for us, really turned out beautifully. So let me move on to modeling. So we cleaned up all these models, like I mentioned, filling in backs and posing characters and all these other things. This was from the LAM scene, I believe, I think. No, this is Alves. This is Danny Alves. And you can see this is sort of an early test where we took the scan data and posed it. We actually posed in ZBrush, and we actually created kind of simple rigs. We knew we weren't going to need animation, obviously, but it helped us to get some things in position, and well enough anyway to work on. We knew we were going to sculpt a lot on them. So you can see what happened here is that I showed you that scan, actually. This is kind of based on that scan of Alves earlier, the photographic one. Or excuse me, not the scan, the photograph of Alves. So this was kind of matched, and you can see, so when we scanned, we put their hands in fists, and we had to splice in open hands and just fix like things to work in the motion of it. But where we didn't need to, we didn't add detail that wasn't there. The wrinkles that we got were great. So why double up work where you don't have to? And it allows us to kind of focus only on the parts that we needed to focus on, and it gave us a great realistic representation where we skipped.
So my workflow consists of starting out directly in ZBrush, right? Sometimes I do have a basic idea of what I want to do, and I sketch it on paper, and then I bring it into ZBrush and just start sculpting right away. But today's presentation, what I'm going to show you guys is actually creating the concept directly within ZBrush without having any kind of presumptions of what the design should be. And ZBrush is versatile like that because with all the features you get in ZBrush, it's really easy to generate random ideas. And then from then on, you finalize it, right? So we have our Dynamesh. And the first thing that I always do is just using the move tool and start pulling shapes around. I know for a fact that, for the sake of this demonstration, we would just want to do like a bust. Right? And using the trim dynamic brush, I'm able to create quick planes on my model. Sometimes it's important to just do this because you can then break down your concept into simple planes. I'm going to show you guys what I mean about using the form brush. So let's create a ridged surface. I'm using an alpha. I'm rotating my alpha. And then that's going to let me create an illusion that there are ridges. I'm just trying to figure out a good place to do it. Not working. Okay, maybe there. So let's say I have a ridge, a row of form like that, right? I want to be a little bit more harsh with it. Right? I can use my form soft brush, right? And I can go over it, right? And it actually keeps most of the overlying detail to a certain extent. I mean, if you were to, you lose all of that, right? But this is something that I like to do. I like to go in, it still maintains all of that detail. Maybe have another one that goes down here like that. And you can do this at other parts as well. I can do it here. I can maybe do that. And then I can use my form soft brush and just quickly go over it. You guys can see, like, within 1 hour, I'm able to quickly concept a creature bust, right? It's not the most detailed creature, but if I were to bring this into a renderer, render it, do several passes on it, bring it to Photoshop, I can really make it something that's production worthy as a concept.
So our company is broken up into multiple operating divisions. The primary division is the prototyping division. That's the original core business, making stuff for people that need stuff.
That's us.
Right, we do that. and of course, when you do that for long enough, you realize, wait a minute, I've made a lot of stuff for other folks. Why aren't we making our own stuff? Why aren't we creating our own brand? And that led to Gentle Giant Ltd being created. Now, Gentle Giant Ltd, as some of you might know, is a company that has licenses for what, Adam? What do we make?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Marvel. Walking Dead.
Little show called Walking Dead.
Lord of the Rings.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in the parking lot, you saw a few of the sculptures that we have created in the last few years. The Dark Lord Sauron, the Voldemort statue with the really creepy eyes, and of course the fine art piece right outside the door, The Rapacious Wheel by Robert Williams. So, and that leads us to our final operating division, or our second to last operating division, which is the fine art division. And fine art, of course, is a wonderful space where people can take all the time they want to create exactly the piece of work that they envision. Now, our last business division is the digital department. And as Carl mentioned, when you start scanning stuff and you're in those days and you're in Hollywood, it's a natural result to get calls from folks that want to scan actors and props and sets and whole physical locations like stadiums or valleys full of props and set pieces. Now that digital operation is a vendor to visual effects. So what are some of the 400 movies we've worked on?
I believe that started with you were hired to scan for Star Wars Episode 2 for product, right?
Yeah, that was our first consumer products scanning job, but our very first visual effects scanning job was before that on Fight Club.
Fight Club, that was the first one?
Yes, and we went and digitized Ed Norton for the scene where he shoots himself in the head, and they used the data that we collected from the scan to not only create the visual effects model part, but also use as a camera tracking to go down the barrel of the digital gun that was.
I remember the shot.
Yeah, that's a spoiler for Fight Club. I mean, it's an old movie, but
you ruined it.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait,
but yeah, it's a good point. There are many productions where we go on set for visual effects purposes to build up libraries strictly just for the animators and VFX supervisors and artists to work with those assets. If it warrants to go further, we will take those assets and create consumer product level data sets for then deploying to 3D printers and working with still in the hands of artists to create amazing collectibles, toys, and other products.
So before I start, I just want to go through my UI and my hotkeys real quick. You can see here I have all my base materials and some main lighting around there that I can easily just change the light position. Especially when I'm working with faces, it's very good to keep changing that light and see if everything is working. I also have the ZAppLink custom views right here that I can store. If I think this is going to be kind of my final image, I can easily go here and store a view. And I can always go back if I'm working and then I want to see how that's looking. I can go back since I have my views right there. I can store a morph target. I also have some of the brushes that I use right there. But my main brushes they're all my hotkeys and a keyboard. So you can see I'm going to quickly switch between brushes without going in any of the UI. So I have clay, I have move, inflate, standard brush, damn standard. So by having everything in here on my 4 fingers, I can easily just keep working without worrying about the interface. I'm going to start applying some alphas and I'm just gonna apply like an overall pore detail to this guy, and I got this pore alpha map with a drag brush stroke, and I'm just gonna drag and drop some of those pore details in this guy with a very low intensity. And again, I'm just gonna blur this alpha a little bit. All right. Again, just so we have kind of a breakup on the spec. We don't want it to be, unless it's something very shiny and like a hard surface or something like this, you don't want a lot of detail on the spec. But if it's a skin, if you got that noise in the skin, it's always helpful to achieve a skin shader. I'm just gonna import some of the textures that I brought so we can start texturing that guy. I can import it as an alpha or as an actual texture. I'm just gonna do texture mode right now. So if I import it right here, let's say this guy, this marble, I can bring it in as a spotlight. So add to spotlight, and it's gonna bring it in like this. So I can position this guy right here, and I can start painting those textures into the model. So let's say I want this right there. Just having the RGB on, I can start having those textures in there. And I'm using Shift-Z to hide it and unhide it. And if you only press Z, you can use the wheel. And you can change the opacity so I can see what's going on behind it. And keep painting. Kind of like this. And then, since we have everything in layers and everything is working in additive and screen, I can go back there and actually tweak those lights and add it more to the side. Or if I want to bring it back to the other side, everything is right there.